Here I am with Geoff Boycott. The end of the second test, Geoffrey. It's finished as a draw. We couldn't have another scenario like Cardiff, and lo and behold, it was a bit dull in the end, wasn't it?
Yes, I think the pitch was so good. It was a better pitch than Cardiff. It didn't offer much pace or much turn, really. It was pretty good for batting. I think, if I had to be honest, England's fast bowling was a little bit disappointing. They've been so good and set such high standards throughout the Australian tour particularly, and then by blowing Sri Lanka away in Cardiff, expectations were high that they would maintain that very high standard. But as we know, we human beings, all of us, we just can't keep playing superbly every day. We try, and this was one of the matches where, as hard as they tried, there were so many balls down leg side that went for byes. I mean, it's a long time since I've seen as many byes given away by England, which go against Pryor's name, the wicketkeeper, but they weren't his fault. I mean, some of them could easily have been wides. They were that wide, and that just gave an example of how wide they kept bowling. Wide off, wide leg, short, not full enough, and it just was frustrated with themselves, first innings and second innings. I thought they tried hard and they got a little better as the match went on, but it's probably a little bit of a chasing experience for them. They've had such good times, haven't they? I think they've won 4 of the last 6 tests by an innings. Hell, that's some pretty good performances, and when you have such high standard, you're bound to come a cropper sometimes. So I wouldn't say there was complacency creeping in, but sometimes you tend to take it for granted a little bit, think it's probably going to happen again, and it isn't. You have to keep working at this game, and just when, well, any sports game, when you think you've cracked it, you know all about it, it gives you a kick up the bum, doesn't it? It gives you a little nudge and say, hey, you know, it doesn't all just go to plan. So it'll just give them a little bit to think about. Batting-wise, a lot of pluses for England. As far as England are concerned, I mean, the biggest plus of all is Pietersen. I mean, he's got runs. Played quite nicely. He still plays across the line to the left armour a bit. Once or twice came down the pitch and trapped the ball to his pad. Unfortunately, he didn't go to the wicketkeeper to stump him, and he got in a bit of a tangle. At other times, he played it lovely. Lovely straight back, beautiful position of the head over the ball. Played 1 or 2 more to the offside, that is with the spin as you should. Some nice shots and 70 odd runs. That's all that matters. And I think the nicest thing was seeing him come out to bat on the 4th evening and the 5th morning, and small crowds, but they gave him such a wonderful ovation, really. People stood up and warmed to him, and that should have pleased him, because I think what that showed more than anything is that England supporters warm towards him. They have a nice feeling towards him. They want him to do well. They remember that he's played for England, played some wonderful innings for the country. And they're with him, and that's always good for a sportsman, to have the public with you. You definitely don't want them against you. So he'll be happy at the end of the test, and a lot of other people will be happy that Kevin's got runs. Touch wood, he's on the way back to, look, I don't know if he'll ever attain the magic form at times he's had in the past. He's getting older, but I think he's on the way to making runs for England. That's what we'll all want to think, and he can make runs again for England. Cook played splendidly. That was a huge plus for England. I mean, he just looks a quality player now. If you'd have seen him last year before the Oval Test, when he played better, and then went to Australia and played fantastically well, he just getting his foot on the correct side of the ball, instead of last year just getting it on the wrong side, having to go around the pad, falling over. He looked terrible and got out. Now he just looks in control. His footwork is exemplary, his balance is good over the ball, his bat, he's so straight, you're quite surprised when he does get out. So a 90 and 100 for him was very good. Bell played very well, lovely touch and everything. He looks a good player. Strauss, he's just a minus. Got out to a left arm seamer. That's twice he's got out, and I think it's 22 times he's got out to a left arm seamer. You don't see many left-arm seamers, so when you do, 22 is quite a lot. And he's got out cheaply to him. So that's just something for him to think about a little bit.
Just go back to the bowlers, because they were probably the big issue for England in this test match. What is it about Lords in particular, about cloud cover? Because when the clouds came over, I think they got about 8 wickets for 100. When the clouds disappeared, like today and previously, it was pretty easy for batting.
I think it's partly in the head of all of us, whether you're a batsman or a bowler. You know, we say, oh, sun's out, it's lovely, it's warm, batsmen like to bat. It just seems to follow a bit like. I think if it's overcast, there's more chance in England of the ball just doing a little bit. Don't ask me why, you're going to have to get a scientist for that, but it does do a little bit more. Bowlers feel better. I think they feel that, I can get the ball to do a fraction more. Might not be a lot, but we play with fractions and inches anyhow. And it does happen. In places all over, I've read lots of pamphlets about swing bowling, seam bowling, atmospheric conditions. I've actually seen it swing on sunny days. But I don't understand why. I really don't. We swung it a bit. We did well the first innings to polish them off. But even so, I thought it was a good, healthy draw from Sri Lanka. They played well. They played pretty well, much more gutsy. And they were ready to play second innings to make a draw. England didn't catch them out this time. I mean, when it rained at Cardiff, they were walking around with their jeans and t-shirts on. When it was chucking down with rain, thinking they won't be needed. Then it changes. The covering's so good now in World Test cricket. And they played, and they just were not mentally ready for it and got shot away. This time, none of that. There was much more steel there.
With that in mind, it was a great innings from the captain Dilshan. I mean, particularly with 82 all out, previous innings get 193 this time, shows real character.
Well, he was a huge plus for them. It was a fantastic innings. I mean, look, he plays a little bit like Sehwag, that he's going to play the odd airy-fairy shot and give the slips a chance, and think, oh wow, we're going to get a nick here. But you bowl anything that he thinks he can hit, he's not going to hang around. And he'd take the game to you and play some splendid shots. And he kept going with a hairline fractured thumb, which he may not play the next test match. He kept going. You could see it was disturbing him and uncomfortable the second day. It was a splendid innings. It really was. I think the opener played very well. Parana Vitana, if I get it right. Yes, I thought he played really well, the left-hander. Second innings played good. Their biggest worry is Sangakkara. He's one of the best three batsmen in the world, in my opinion. Kallis and Tendulkar at this current time. He's got a great record all over the world, but he hasn't got a good record in England. He's played 9 test matches now. He failed here both innings. And I think he averages around about 26. He does in test cricket in England. Now there's one more test to go. And it'd be a shame if he didn't show us his batting delights, because he is a class act. And at his age, and test match countries playing each other maybe every 4 or 5 years, he may not be back again in England. It'd be sad to see him have 10 test matches, be his 10th next time, and not produce anything really substantial. I think his highest score is a 65 or something, I think, at Lord. That's not a lot for a class act. So I'd like to see him play well. I like the look of the wicket-keeper. He showed a lot of good second inning. The wicket-keeper, Prasanna Jayawardene, he looks as if he could be a really good wicket-keeper batsman. Their bowling, still, I think they're going to have hard times. I really do. I saw them in Cardiff. I've seen them here. Nothing wrong with their attitude. Nothing wrong with their effort. But it looks very modest now there's no Murali and no Malinga, who can get you an early wicket, bowl well at the death. It looks very, very ordinary. And I mean, the spinner Herath tries hard, the 2 seamers. I think they're going to have tough times ahead. I really do, with that bowling, unless they can find some others.
Final question about England's bowling looking ahead to the Rose Bowl. Jimmy Anderson thinks he's going to be fit, though someone therefore has got to give way. Who do you think it should be?
I think it'll be Finn. I mean, he's done well. He's got 4 wickets in the first innings. His greatest asset while he's learning, he bowls and gets wickets. He bowls wicket-taking balls. I know he's a bit expensive. I know he's a little bit wild, and he's not quite the finished article. But there's plenty there for England to be quite happy with. I don't think they dropped Tremlett. He was a Hampshire lad anyhow, and. Yes, I think he'd give way. I don't think they'll let Tremlett go, and are certainly not Broad. And I think it would have to be him. But again, if he doesn't play any cricket before that test, it's always a risk with the bowler, especially a 4-man attack. If he were to break down with the same injury, you're left with 2 seamers and 1 off spinner. It's always going to be a problem. So If I was him, I'd be wanting to play some cricket beforehand and just prove that I am match fit, not net fit. Practice nets, not the same as match fit.